Magic Duel is the most meta-tacular episode of My Little Pony, and was mind-blowing for me after all the analysis of the series I've been doing. My appreciation of Magic Duel was influenced by the way that I reacted to Ghostbusters, which you can watch my video of by clicking here. Magic Duel was written by M.A. Larson, who is arguably one of the biggest driving forces towards a unified narrative in the show. He previously wrote Sonic Rainboom and the Cutie Mark Chronicles, which were one of the biggest continuity threads in the first season. He also wrote Luna Eclipsed, which was a huge piece of continuity in that it finally reintroduced Luna to the series as a mainstay character. Larson seems to enjoy taking minor characters and expanding on them, which he did for Diamond Tiara and Ponyville Confidential, and does again here with the great and powerful Trixie, who had also been name-dropped in Ponyville Confidential. My theory as to why this episode exists is that Larson wanted to make up for Ghostbusters, which is one of the worst episodes of the entire show. The only good things that came out of Ghostbusters were some light exploration of how Twilight's magic works, and the introduction of the most lovably obnoxious side character, Trixie. Besides those things, Ghostbusters portrays the characters horribly, is paced like a hard shit, and has one of the most lazy and poorly handled lessons in the show. It's bad, which is something that can't be said about many episodes of MLP. Magic Duel takes all of that failure and uplifts it. Larson's love of continuity is a constant presence throughout the episode. For starters, it deals with Twilight's progress in magic, which is the general theme of this whole season. When Twilight was practicing magic at the start of Too Many Pinkie Pies, I wasn't sure if it was directly connected to the fact that she's supposed to be training post-Crystal Empire. But now that there's another episode of her training, and this time throughout the entire episode, it really feels like a major point of this season. There was no better time for Trixie to make a return, since her presence has always been for Twilight to learn more about her magic. In this case, she actually learns when not to use it. So, why am I so sure that M.A. Larson was trying to fix Ghostbusters? After all, Trixie hasn't changed much since her last appearance. Larson certainly hasn't transformed her and given her new life the way he did with Luna in Luna Eclipsed. He does, however, throw in some key phrases that help to define what kind of character she always was. The important lines are, "There was something different about her. It's like she's gone from high and mighty to mean and nasty." And, "I miss the days when she was just a fraud." One of the reasons I hated Ghostbusters is that the ponies had been so quick to vilify Trixie, who was just trying to put on a show. They drove her out of town because they found her obnoxious, which really isn't in character for them, and certainly isn't in character for Twilight, who just sort of lets everything happen and doesn't chastise her friends for the way they acted. In the new episode, Trixie is a bully. However, this isn't a natural part of her character, and Twilight recognizes this. She's surprised to see Trixie acting this way, because she remembers Trixie as a pain in the ass, but not a villain. Anyone who remembers Ghostbusters well would know this, and Larson shows that he cares about her character and who she really was, by representing her evil nature as the influence of the Alicorn pendant. It would have been too easy to show Trixie as a vengeful bitch and ignore the fact that she was never really threatening in the first place. The big moment is at the end when Trixie finally gets the chance to apologize to Twilight and help her to put on a show for the delegates from Saddle Arabia, since, putting on a show is actually what her magic is supposed to do. She finally reconciles with Twilight and shows that even though she's still obnoxiously narcissistic, she was never a bad pony, she just made a bad decision. Okay, let's talk about the cool stuff now. The opening scene sets the mood beautifully, showing a dark town that we've never seen before. Callback number 1. Spike mentions how Twilight once rolled him and Applejack up in a giant snowball, which happened in Winter Wrap-Up. And then Fluttershy chews off a bunch of her marshmallow hooves. Callback number 2. Trixie mentions working on a rock farm, which is clearly run by Pinkie Pie's dad. This is corroborated by Pinkie being the one to comment about it. Remember that Larson was the one who wrote Pinkie's backstory, and this is the first time we've been given evidence that Pinkie wasn't lying about it before. Trixie responds by taking apart Pinkie's flash symbol, a fitting piece of fourth wall breaking magic for the pony who defies physics. Callback number 3. Twilight summons a Parasprite to eat Trixie's pies, and it even spawns a copy before Twilight gets rid of it. Callback number 4. Twilight gives Trixie a mustache, which is the spell that Twilight had just learned in Ghostbusters. Notice that Trixie snips it off with scissors, and these seem to remind her of Snips and Snails, who she then calls over. All sorts of minor characters make appearances. Zecora gets to play a big role again, which has been a long while, and the baby cakes are also there. Also, Lyra drinks the fuck out of some soda. Twilight with wet hair is ultra adorable. I noticed that Twilight's voice was a little funny and adorable at the part where she challenges and battles Trixie for the second time. Then I realized that it was because Twilight was trying to brag and lie, and I wondered if she was supposed to be imitating the way Trixie sounds. Tara Strong, why are you so brilliant? Twilight's Gambit makes great use of the supporting cast, and I think that's a good time to mention just how much this episode relies on the viewer to have seen a lot of the show to understand what's going on. There's no way you could watch this as your first episode of MLP and know what the hell is happening. Callback number 5. Pinkie Pie plays 10 instruments just like in Storm of the Century, which is actually being utilized in Twilight's Gambit. M.A. Larson also wrote that episode, by the way. Finally, at the very end, not only does Pinkie use her famous fourth wall-breaking powers, but Twilight joins her for the last scene. I love that Twilight actually opens a door into the fourth wall zone to meet Pinkie there. And that's all I've got to say about this episode. Hey everypone, you've just watched my re-uploaded and redone version of the Magic Duel review. This video was taken down for copyright infringement by YouTube, so I've re-uploaded it with some minor changes made to it. I wanted to preserve as much of it as possible to be like the original upload, because even though I do intend to eventually go back and cover a lot of these episodes again when I have additional things to say about them, I'm not ready to do that yet. So I still want to have the original analysis of Magic Duel available for you to see, but I did make a couple of small changes to it. For one, I removed in the original, there was a comment where I said that I enjoyed Fluttershy's character in this episode for some reasons, and I really don't care for those reasons anymore. I had said something to the effect that I liked that she was able to be a scaredy cat, and but going back to the episode, I've got a lot more appreciation for Fluttershy as a character now than I did when I wrote this video, and I don't care for the way she was portrayed in this episode nearly as much as I used to, so I cut that segment. Also, you may have noticed at the part where I talk about how I like Twilight's voice when she's talking to Trixie. In the original video, I had a voice clip from the show, and I figure that's a bad idea if I'm not trying to get copyright infringement claims, so I cut out that voice segment. But hopefully the video will be fine now. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm gonna annotate some other stuff you can watch. I've been posting some videos on Digibrony After Dark lately about like showing my room and shit, if that's interesting. Also, today, a video came out that I got my first voice role. I was in episode 2 of Inanimate Insanity Season 2. I play the character Meepad, who is an iPad thing. And yeah, that was fun. So go check out some videos. There's probably some more annotations down here for other stuff, so